Hey guys, Mr. J. First book we're looking at is Dear Martin, written by Nick Stone. It is a debut novel that was a William C. Morris Award finalist. It is an emotional and very real, raw book. Follows the main character, Justice McAllister, who's a young African-American, well-educated, on his way to an Ivy League school, and he deals with confronting and navigating life with police brutality, injustice, inequality, and he does this in a way where he writes letters to Dr. Martin Luther King. That's where the Dear Martin comes in, asking him, what would you do? What would Dr. Martin do when confronted with these issues in modern times? Just a great book, overall emotional read, and I really, really like this book. Next book up is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is a mystery thriller that takes place on like a Nantucket type island off the coast of, what is it, Massachusetts, I think? I always forget where it is. Anyway, it follows Cadence and the unreliable narrator. She's struggling to remember something that had happened during their 15th summer. It's her and her family friends, and it's a very haunting, suspenseful thriller that this will leave you guessing to the very end. Ask Mrs. Lizer about this book. She'll fill you in. It's so good. This is one of the best books I've read. Next up is The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner. This was the William C. Morris winner from, I think, 2016. This follows the story of Dill, the main character. He's the son of a Pentecostal preacher in southern Tennessee. And he and his two friends, they're all outcasts trying to navigate their senior year. They're trying to escape their small town, rural area. This was it was hopeful, tragic, and emotional all at the same time. This book hit me pretty hard, especially after reading Dear Martin. You kind of see the perspective of that urban African-American story and rural white Southern culture. Very interesting. I recommend this one to anybody that was a fan of John Green or Perks of Being a Wallflower. A great... This is Every Heart a Dory by Shannon McGuire. I don't know, some Irish name, I can't pronounce it. This is an Alex Award-winning novel, which are the awards given to the best adult books that will appeal to teens. This is a fantasy book where children find their way to magical lands through wardrobes, luggage trunks, attic doors, rabbit holes, and only to come back to the real world and end up at this school for wayward children. This is a magical murder mystery through imaginative worlds and eccentric characters, kind of like a grown-up Chronicles of Narnia or Harry Potter, and this is the first in a kind of a loosely connected trilogy. I really enjoy this book. It's a quick read, under 200 pages, and it's a wild, fun ride. Alright guys, this is Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. This was a National Book Award winner for young people's literature. It follows like a points of view of three Mexican-American teens. They're on the path of like self-discovery, trying to figure out who they truly are. Talks about family, acceptance, adoption, their heritage. This was a real roller coaster of emotions with each character's individual journeys, discovering who their family is, who their birth mother is, and why they became why they were given up for adoption. Some are in foster care, some are with families already adopted, and they're going through their own journeys each individually. Really great book. I enjoyed it. It was one of the last books I read in my challenge, but a really good take on Hispanic Americans, culture, and adoption in a different way. This is Acada Witch by Ndidi Okorafor. It is an African fantasy novel that follows the main character Sunny, who is an albino teen born in America to Nigerian parents that make their way back to Africa. She discovers that she has these magical shape-shifting powers that have been kind of handed down to her by her mysterious grandmother. Along with her, a group of magical teens that all have these powers, they are tasked with confronting a powerful serial killer that is killing magical people in Africa. This serial killer is kind of like the ultimate magician, set upon destroying both the magical and real world. And Sunny and her fellow companions are tasked with taking this serial killer on. This is the first in a series of books. This was fun, adventurous. It does take time to build up to a really powerful conclusion, but I recommend this book to any fans of Harry Potter or fantasy novels in general. Alright, this is Dry by Neil Shusterman. I really like this book. It is set in the near future, a survival story about what happens when California runs out of fresh water. Things happen where the supply is cut off, and this is a wild race to survive and how quickly the world can change in a natural disaster. It's timely. It's kind of eerie in a way of how quickly things can collapse when certain resources are run out. This was a page turner. I read this book in a matter of days. Really great, action-packed. Just interesting to see how much things can change when disaster strikes. Eerily similar to what we're experiencing right now. Highly recommended. I'm trying to get this book out to everybody that wants to read it. Just a great novel. Next up is She Rides Shotgun by Jordan Harper. This is another Alex Award-winning novel. It also won an Edgar Award, which is books. Edgar Allan Poe Award given to like mystery novels and stuff. But this is an action-packed, gritty, violent novel that reads like a great action movie. The main character, Nate, is released from prison only to find out that he has this hit put out on him and his family by a rival gang. And he goes all out to protect his daughter Polly from the group that wants him dead. And it's full of narrow escapes, action-packed shootouts, and it's a bit on the kind of R-rated movie. But nonetheless, it is one of the best books that I read last year. And when I was hyping this up one time for a class, I was in the middle of reading it, and I hyped it up, and one student grabbed it, and they enjoyed this book. Fast-paced, and just a great action-packed novel. Next, we're taking a look at Darius the Great is Not Okay by Adib Karam. This was the William C. Morris Award winner from 2019, and it is a diverse, multicultural novel. It follows the story of Darius Kellner, who is an Iranian American, and he battles with clinical depression, racism, bullies, dealing with his overbearing father, and just feelings of being an outcast. He takes a trip to his family's home country of Iran, and he discovers new family, places, and friends, making connections there. It is a really, overall, a fresh and endearing take on teens and mental illness from a diverse perspective. I really enjoyed this book. It was kind of like a slow build-up, but a highly enjoyable tearjerker of a novel. Alright, the final book we're looking at is Born by Jeff Vandermeer. It is another Alex Award-winning novel. It is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi adventure that follows this main character, Rachel, who's a scavenger in this desolate, burnt-out city that was destroyed by drought and horrible experiments by this biotech firm called The Company. Their greatest achievement was developing this flying, destructive giant bear called Mord. And it just ravages the entire world that they're living in. She discovers this amorphous living blob that responds to her voice, and it becomes like hyper aware and intelligent, and it kind of follows that relationship that she kind of takes care of it and raises it. It's a slow building novel, but it reaches a really great climax and conclusion that is worth the wait. I enjoyed it. It was slow to start, but really interesting, heady, kind of cool sci-fi novel.